In this bathroom remodeling seminar, we'll cover the remodeling process flow in Chief Architect. Then, with the as-built floor plan, create a layer set that can be used to superimpose over the final remodel project and use wall hatching or a special wall type to show the walls that will be removed. In the remodel plan, we'll then superimpose the as-built in 2D and 3D, create the new walls that will be added to the project, and look further at the reference display tool to superimpose floors above or below. Let's get started by reviewing the remodeling process flow in Chief Architect. This is a remodeling process that I typically follow when working on a project. I'll begin by creating the as-built floor plan. Once that is created, I will then do a Save As and save it as a remodel project. There's a couple reasons for this. One, I have the as-built drawing. I have all the dimensions. Then when I do a Save As, it has the exact same coordinates. It makes the overlay process easy. Once I've finished the Save As, the remodel, I will then go through the steps and add all the new components for the design. Walls, fixtures, windows, doors, whatever those items are. When I'm finished with that, I can then do an overlay of the as-built over the top of the remodel project. This can be done both in a 2D view and a 3D view using the tool called Reference Display. This can be a helpful process for both the craftsman, the building department, and the clients to be able to see what the new space is going to look like. Let's move over into the program and begin with the as-built project. For this session, I'm using the Bachelor View Bath project. This is a sample plan you can download from the Chief Architect website /samples. If you want to use this and better understand how the process works, you can simply download this project and take a look. As we begin, let's take a look at the dimensioning process. I have the dimensions already on the project. When you go out in the field and you've created your dimensions for your rooms, maybe you're using a laser meter to create the dimensions and then you eventually have to then put those on your project. I like to use the tool for interior dimensions. Underneath the dimension tool, you can see I kind of mouse over it. It's called interior dimensions. When I'm in this mode, it's set up to only recognize dimensions for inside the rooms. So I can be a little bit sloppy with this as I kind of drag across the rooms. And let's zoom in. If you compare this dimension string that I just created to the dimension above, you can see that it's off by an inch, in this case the 10'7" versus the 10'8". And as you zoom in, the dimensions are actually locating the stud layer. As I zoom in, the dark gray represents the stud layer, where the outer line represents the wall finish. So using the dimension defaults, I will usually change this to pick up the wall surface. And note that I'm using this saved plan view called the floor plan view. I'm going to go ahead and use the edit active view, come down, and the dimension defaults that are currently being used are 1/4 inch scale dimensions. Sometimes I create a specific dimension default for remodeling so that it can be set up to go to wall surfaces. I'm going to use this particular one. I'm going to use the edit tool on the tab for locate interior. I'm going to change this to wall surfaces. That means when I use the tool, it's going to pick up the surfaces. Notice there are other dimension tools. If you're using this and you want to pick up the wall surfaces, you can make the same change on the other dimension tools depending on what you're going to be doing. So on the interior, I've got it set up to locate the interior wall space. And notice nothing changed because I've already drawn this dimension. I'm simply going to delete this and rerun the dimension right across here, and that's going to come up, and as you zoom in, it's going to pick up the wall surface. Now if you've already created some dimensions and you don't want to redraw it, these dimensions you can click on. You see the little diamond, you can pull that over and adjust it. So if you don't want to redraw the dimension and it's faster to do it that way, then simply modify your dimensions. So one of the things that I'll do in my remodel projects is set that dimension to locate wall surfaces. That way when I use the tool, it picks up exactly what I'm looking for. The next thing with the as-built, I've created a special wall type for proposed demo areas. And you can see that I have it color-coded in the 2D view. And when I take a 3D overview, you can see that I've also color-coded it in a 3D view. There's a couple of ways you can create your demo walls. In my example here, I've actually created a specific wall type called Demo. It allows me to see it both in 2D and 3D. I've changed the hatching in the 2D view. Let's just take a look at one of these wall types. Let's double click on the wall here. You see the preview of it. It's orange. And underneath wall types, you can see that I have a wall type called Interior for Demo. In the 2D view, I have an orange hatching. Let's click the Define button here. So on this wall type, you can see that the framing is orange. That's why you see it in the 3D view. You can change this by simply clicking on the texture, and typically your wall is going to set up to be fur framing. If I go into the Plan Materials, you can see that I have made a copy of the fur framing just simply by clicking on the material, creating a copy. That makes a copy of it, and then I changed it to just be orange by clicking on the Edit button, and then underneath the material color, I just chose an orange color. That way I can easily see this in the 3D view. Now if you want to create a wall type specific for a demo, all you need to do, if I were on the Interior for wall, is use the Copy tool. That will make a copy of it. I then rename the copy and give it a good name so that it means something for me. Then I'll end up saving this version in my template file, and then I always have that wall type. I'll cancel out of that. Also notice that the wall hatching is different. If we take a look at that further, you can see the wall hatching in here. By clicking on the fill, you can choose whatever hatch you want or other patterns, and then I also chose the same orange style color. That way it will show up uniquely in the floor plan view and in the 3D view. As we kind of move back into the 3D view, you can see the hatching is on the walls. These are the proposed walls that are going to be demoed. As you can kind of see, I created a CAD box and used the same fill style. One of the quickest ways to overlay if you want to show demo walls is to use wall hatching. Let's just kind of pick on this wall right in here. Let's suppose this wall area is going to be removed. You can use wall hatching, which is an overlay. It creates a CAD box on there, and then you can also change the fill style. You'll find this tool underneath the Build Wall tool, and then there's a wall hatching tool down toward the bottom. And then all you need to do is click on the wall. That's going to generate the wall hatching. Now notice it generated it all along that same wall. And in this case, I'm going to click on the wall. It will select the wall. If we open up the active layer display, you can see it's actually selected the wall. I'm going to press the Tab key one time, maybe two times, to get the wall hatching. You can see that it's now selected, and then as I zoom in, I can then adjust this wall hatching where I want it, and then we have that hatching just on the particular segment. This wall hatching, if you open it up, you can set your default. It has a fill style. My default wall hatching has the same color as the demo wall that I've created. So using wall hatching is an easy way if you want to overlay an area that shows the proposed demo walls that you're going to do. Is an easy way to do that. The other way is to use a specific wall type. That did require me to break a wall. You notice that the wall segment up in here is two different segments. If I click on the upper and the lower, I use the break tool on the wall. When you're on a wall, there is a break tool down below. You see the little break command down here. And then when you add a break in here, that allows you to have then two segments. If I were to take the far right segment here, open it up, then I can easily change that wall into a different wall style. And that's how I've created that. And then as you toggle back over into 3D view, you can see where that wall segment also changed into 3D by changing that wall type. Let me press undo a couple of times here. When it comes to creating the remodel project and the as-built project, one of the first things I like to do is a save as, and I will save this as a remodel project. That way the same plans are in the same exact coordinates. I know that this corner of the wall will be in the exact same coordinate. Then when I want to overlay the as-built or superimpose it over the remodel, the coordinates are already set. It makes it an easy process. You can also do that after the fact if you want to input coordinates. I just find the process easy because I know that if I need to copy and paste, hold position between the two plans, maybe a window or some other component, it's easy to have it in the exact same coordinates. Before I save this as a remodel project, I want to show you the layer set that has been created in here that will be used to superimpose. I'm going to come up into my Save Plan View and I'm going to change this to the demo shell. When that layer set takes place that changed from the demo shell, you can see that I have a layer set called demo shell. That turned off the dimensions and the text and then left the items color-coded in orange that I've marked as demo. In addition to the walls that I've marked as demo that you can see with either the hatching or the wall type, I've also done the same thing with the doors that are anticipated to be removed. You can see that they are orange. And then I've also done the same thing for the fixtures as well as the cabinets. All of these components, as you look at my active layer display set, are turned on orange underneath of this layer set. I'm going to show you how to create this layer set here in a minute. So each one of these, if we deselect that door or that cabinet and we sort this based on color, and I scroll down, you can see that all of these components really are set up to be orange in this particular layer set that I want to have displayed. And this is the same layer set that I'm going to use to superimpose using the reference display tool when we open up the remodel project. So the question is how do you create one of these Save Plan Views and one of these layer sets? First of all, if you want to learn more about Save Plan Views, there's a great video on the website. You can search for Save Plan Views and you can open it up. But I'm going to quickly show you the process of how I've done this, and then if you want to learn a little bit more, please watch that video. Let me switch back over into the floor plan view. Notice that it also changed my layer set to the floor plan. So the layer set and the Save Plan View are typically tied together. So the first step is to do a Save As option that will save this as a new Save Plan View. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's just call this the Demo Shell 2. And then I want to create a new layer set that will go along with this. So I'll make a copy of this layer set. And again, we'll just call this, I've been calling mine, let's call this Demo 2. Now that I've changed the layer set to Demo 2, I need to then save this Save Plan View. And there's a little button right here that says Save It. That way it will then mate the layer set to the Save Plan View. So it's now saved. At this point, it's a matter of going in and turning on and turning off layers, maybe changing colors. To turn off layers, click on the item, come over to the active layer display options, turn it off, click on the text, turn it off. You can also group select to turn these different layers off. So most of the layers are turned off. Then to change the color of the layers, let's go ahead and click on the door. You can see that I've actually created a door demo. I made a copy of the existing door layer, made it demo. I'm going to change it for this layer set to be the orange color simply by coming in here. And then if I go ahead and grab a couple of these, I'm going to hold the Shift key down, grab both cabinets and fixtures. You can see them selected off to the side. We'll come over here, we'll use the same orange color for those. And now these are layer specific. If we switch back over into the floor plan view, you can see that they're not changed because the layer controls the color. And let's switch back over into that Demo Shell 2. So I've now got a footprint that is nice and clean. I can overlay it with those things that I want. If there's something that you don't want turned on, maybe your cabinets you don't want turned on, click on the item, turn the layer off, and that way it's specific for your needs to show the as-built overlay. As I open up the completed remodel project, I'm on the floor plan view. You can see all of the details that have been added into the project. I've created a pretty simple Save Plan View and layer set to make it easy to see what's been added here as far as structural. Let's switch over to that view and I'm going to come down. I've created a remodel footprint view. That also changes the layer set over here, as you can see. And this is a very clean view, just showing structurally what's been added. Just like in the as-built plan, I've color-coded the walls as I zoom in. I've used a green style wall that is in the new wall types, and then using reference display, I can superimpose the as-built. I'm going to press F9 on my keyboard so you can see this. So reference display is accessed by coming up and clicking on the change floor reference tool. I'm on floor 1. When I click on this, it brings up the change floor reference component. This allows me to come down and choose what I want to use as a reference display. This can be many floors, it can be many external files, and if you look at the number 2 slot down here, it's using the as-built file. See, as I kind of move this over, the as-built file, the floor is going to match the current. If I were to have multiple floors that were being remodeled, it would then match whichever floor I'm on. The layer sets using the demo shell, that was the one we created. And if you need to define this, if you want to click the define button, this will peek out into that as-built file, allow you to change what's being displayed. If you want to turn something on or off, you can do it right through this without needing to open up a plan. There's a few other options that you can change with the reference display. I'll go ahead and leave those settings as is. Other thing that is important in the remodel process, I've saved both of these files in the same folder. That makes it easy if I were to come in here, come down to choose existing plan. That opens up the folder, and then I can simply choose the correct file. That way they're in the same folder. Makes it easy for file management. So toggling on reference display is F9 on the keyboard. You'll also find a shortcut key off to the right hand side. Typically your menu may be a little bit different, but you can toggle that on and toggle that off by using the reference display. You can do the exact same process in a 3D view. Let's use our overhead camera here and take a overhead 3D perspective floor overview. When this view comes up, you can see again I've used the green style wall to show new walls that have been added both in the 2D and the 3D views. So if I want to superimpose the as-built, same process, come up to the change floor reference, come down, choose the existing file, and I'm going to look for the as-built file. You can choose the layer set. I've got a couple of layer sets. One is called the 3D camera view for dollhouse. That just means it's overhead. I've turned off like recessed can lights because I typically don't like to see those. You can define that layer set using the define button, and then you can also change the render view. If you want to select a different render view, you can change that. Let me make sure that's on glasshouse view. And just like in the 2D view, it will superimpose that particular design from the as-built right over the top of the remodel project. F9 on your keyboard turns it off. So if you want to show your client the difference in the increased space in this bedroom suite, F9 that turns it on, turns it off. It's a nice way to be able to show exactly how the space is going to evolve. Maybe that helps your project move along a little quicker in the decision process, since sometimes it's difficult to visualize what the space is going to look like. So that's called reference display, and it works in 2D and in the 3D view. And F9 will toggle it on, as well as a tool off to the side of my toolbar. So reference display can be turned on and off using that toggle display. Let's take a look at another way you can use reference display to help you in the design process. I'm going to switch my Save Plan view over to the kitchen and bath view. And then let's zoom in a little bit into this area over here. This is a new construction area for a water closet that also has a sink. That required additional floor framing to create this space. You want to make sure that that floor framing is not going to be in the way for your water closet positioning. It's more expensive to have that blocked out and changed later than it is early in the design process. Reference display can be used to superimpose an as-built external file, as we just looked at, it can also be used to superimpose within your same file floor above or floor below. The floor framing for this is on the floor below, and I want to superimpose that over this project by pressing F9 on the keyboard, and you can see the floor framing in blue where that's going to lay out. If that looks okay, then we're good to go. If it looks like it's in the middle of the water closet and I need to change it, I'll then open up the framing and make the adjusted changes. That way I know that it's going to be constructed without requiring any adjustments in the field. Let's take a look at how I've created this view using the same reference display tool that we were using for the as-built. So I go back into the change floor reference display, and down below here you can see that it's using the exact same file, so it's not using an external file. And then I've created a layer set called Reference Floor Framing. Let's go ahead and click the Define button and see what's turned on in here. This reference floor framing, the only thing that's turned on are floor joists, and I've color coded it to be blue. Typically when you use reference display, the default's going to be set up to use a layer set called reference display. Let's go ahead and just change that so you can see what it typically might look like. So reference display is going to show various things, typically walls, to make sure they're aligned and stacked. You can see it in red as we kind of zoom out where those are being superimposed from the floor below. And what I've done here with the reference display is I simply came in here for the reference display, clicked on it, I made a copy of this layer set, so you can click on Define and make a copy of the layer set, which I've done, and that's how I've created a new layer set called Reference Floor Framing, and then turned off all the layers except those floor joists. And that way, with using that reference display, it allows me to show exactly what I want to superimpose. Could be a floor above where you have heating and ventilation and you want to make sure the ventilation is positioned exactly where you want for your design. Reference display is a nice tool not only for as-builts but also being able to superimpose an area above or below for different floors. As we wrap up the session, let's switch back over into the remodel footprint layer. I wanted to point out that I've created a new wall type. You see that in green. You also saw it in a 3D view. If you take a look at this wall type, same process as we did before. You look at the wall type here, you click the Define button. I made a copy of the exterior wall, changed the main layer to be green by clicking on the texture. You can see new framing, hit Edit. You can see I changed this to be green, and then in the fill view I just used a solid green color. That way when you take a look at it in 3D as we return back into the camera, you can see these walls are also green. It also has the added benefit, if you take a look at this using the framing camera, if you get down to this level of detail, it allows you to also color code new components that will be added. You can differentiate between new construction and old construction. Since that material is set up to be the main layer of green in this case, reference display can also be used in this view. Return back up to the change floor reference, come down to the as-built plan, layer set 3D framing, the render type of glasshouse, and then you can see where that framing is going to be removed out of the project. Again, that's reference display. That wraps up this session on bathroom remodeling. Thanks for attending and watching. To learn more, you can download this plan at chiefarchitect.com/samples.
Thanks, Scott. We had somebody write in a question, and they were wondering if you could demonstrate how to do a glass shower wall that doesn't go all the way to the ceiling.
Okay, yeah, sure. That was a pretty common question that came into the session today. And so I've got a example open here, and I've got a handful of shower walls. And a lot of times, if you want to pull a shower wall down, let's just kind of pick on this first one that I have. You can click on this wall. It's a little more efficient in an elevation view if you want to be exact, but you can just simply pull this down. And by the way, if you're pulling it down and you press the tab key, you can be very specific. So if I want to pull that down 22 inches, then I can be very exact in pulling it down. So that's one of the quickest ways to adjust the wall. There is an option where you could use a railing wall, which is kind of what I have on the back side of this wall over here. You can see that I have a border around it. Railing walls, note, will cut out for the door. So you can see how the door does not go up to meet the railing wall. If I can pull that up, you can see where we're at. So those doors in a railing wall, depending on what you're doing, will actually be cut out for those. So that's a couple of ways that you can set up your walls for your showers if they're not going all the way up to the ceiling.
Thanks, Scott. We don't have anybody with their hands raised, but we did have another write-in question. Somebody was wondering if you could just go over the process of displaying the overlay of the new build over the as-built one more time.
Yeah, sure. That's called reference display. And really the process here, as I mentioned earlier, is when you go out in the field and you do your as-built, it's good practice to just then turn around and save that as your remodel. And then you end up remodeling it. And then since they're in the same X and Y positions, turning that reference display on and off is easy. And if I just grab one of those files, let's kind of talk through the initial process of that. So this is the file that I've kind of used in the presentation that I did. And when you see this and you look at this in a 3D view, you can see that here are the proposed walls to demo. So that's pretty obvious. And then if I open up the next iteration of that, let me just grab that. So this one is using reference display, and all it has is the demo walls. And I'm pressing F9 on the keyboard. You can also use this tool off to the side called reference display. And the way you set that up is you come into the change floor reference and you point it to the file that you want and then the layer set that you want. And then once you have that set up, you can then toggle that on to set up the reference display. Let's look at it in 3D real quickly. So this is the model that has had the walls removed. So it's been demoed, right? And then in the reference display, we'll just go out. Let's choose that file. So since it's in the same folder, I'll select it. And then you can choose the rendering technique. I'll set it to be the same rendering technique. And now you see those walls. It's pulling it in from the other plan. Again, toggle that on, toggle it off, and you can quickly see how to overlay those components. So hopefully that helps.
Yes, thanks, Scott. We do have a question from Rick. Hi, Rick. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Am I on?
Hi, Rick.
Hi, Scott. I got a question. I'm doing a basement bathroom. They don't want to drywall the ceiling. I've got the whole basement as built and such, but I don't know how to turn on the floor joists so I can see them because they don't want to, they just want to paint the floor joists.
Oh, so it'll be exposed ceiling?
Yes.
So what you can do in that case is you can remove the ceiling out of the room. And in that case, let's go back here. Let me do that. Rick, what program are you using?
X15.
Yeah, okay. So if we, let's just build a second story on here. So we'll just build a floor or maybe a foundation, right? And let's make sure that it's high enough. So we'll just make it 96. So here's my foundation. And then let's go ahead and click in here And let's see if we can build the framing. So build the floor framing in here, turn it on. Oh boy. So here's all these floor joists that put in here, right? So if you came into the room and you knock out the ceiling in here, so you come into the structure and you can remove the ceiling out of this room. Yep. And now when we take a 3D view inside of here, make sure we turn that layer on. Joists. Well, or not. Where are they? Oh, I'm still having that layer on, aren't I? So let's go back into the room and let's take a look. So I'm gonna take this ceiling finish right in here. It says it's using a default ceiling finish. Do you see that, Rick?
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna basically remove that. Let's get rid of that layer and let's see if that then exposes what we're after.
Beautiful.
So, and then depending on what framing you had, I just used an I-joist, then you have the framing in there.
Yeah, looks great. Thank you, Scott. That's great.
So you're gonna have a bathroom with exposed floor joists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They like that look. It's a 9.5 foot poured wall.
Uh-huh,
So I got the
sure.
brick texture and all that in the basement. It looks real cool. And then they want to
Yeah.
have that, and then we'll dry fall paint it.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Thanks for calling in today, Rick.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Scott.
Got Vicky from Louisiana wrote in and she asked, what's the easiest way to create a shower door with a threshold?
So if I understand the question right, Vicky, threshold, sometimes they call that maybe a dam or something like that. One of the ways that you can do that, let's see if I have one in here. So if this is what you're after, being able to set it up to have a water dam in there, then I typically will do that with a custom countertop. So if you look at this, this is just a countertop that is 3 inches thick, 3 inches above the floor. That allows you to shape it. If you wanted to put an edge profile on here, you could also do that. So, and then if you wanted a very thin profile on there for an actual threshold on there, I'd probably use the molding pie line and draw that and set up a profile to put it on there if you wanted to get to that level of detail to show a threshold on the bottom of the door. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks, Scott. We have Molly here with a question. Go ahead and ask your question, Molly.
Hi.
Hi,
I was
Molly.
wondering, how are you, Steve? Scott, sorry.
Yeah.
How do you go out to the internet, pick up a tile pattern, like the one that's on the screen right now? That is not in the library, but I recognize that tile. I don't remember who the manufacturer is, but how do you do that?
Okay, so Molly, good question. What program are you using?
15.
Okay, so that tile on my screen should be in the program, and you can, if it's not, you can always download those from the bonus catalogs, and I believe that's a Mercury mosaics tile.
Okay, I downloaded stuff this morning for 24, so maybe it's there, but nonetheless.
Yeah. So the question is how do I download a tile? Let me see if I can open up a web browser here, and then let's pull in a tile here. If I can.
You want a manufacturer?
Yeah, I was just going to open up a browser here. Just give me just a second here.
So
Okay.
you could try Sonoma Tile Makers. How's that?
What was that?
Sonoma Tile
Sonoma?
Makers. Tile Makers is one word.
Let's see if I've got it here.
Pardon me.
Okay. So if I have this right, let's
Go to a
see.
collection.
Yeah. Okay. Glass. Pick one of these.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's a few interesting ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I click on this tile, let's see if they have a bigger image of this. So there's a couple ways you can do this. One, you can just right click on this image possibly, and I don't see a copy option, but you could actually copy that image and then drag it into the program. The other way that I will typically do that is I'll use the screen capture utility in the program. And that way you can set it up and do a screen grab out of it. Let's get a little darker one so it's a little easier to see.
Okay.
So this tile may not be perfect because as I look at this tile here, Molly,
Yep.
I don't see grout around the edges, right?
Oh, yeah, I see your point.
And so ideally, if you could put the Sonoma tile makers, if you have a contact, put them in contact with us, then we can make this tile well, because what's going to happen is this is a pretty small image and it's going to repeat across your shower or your backsplash, right?
Correct.
And since it doesn't have that grout line on top of it, then it will not look great. It will look okay, but it won't look great. Now you could use a photo editor and put the tile in there, but if you put them in contact with us, then our content department can work with them and build that. But let's take a look at how you would import that tile, and let's see if we can put it on wherever I'm at. Oh, I've got a complete view up here. Let's go up and let's see if we can put that tile in this shower over here. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the program underneath of tools, and I'm going to come down to screen capture. And the first thing I'm going to do is use screen capture setup. Do you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go into the screen capture setup, and normally I might have a couple of monitors, but you can only see one of mine. And under screen capture setup, I'm going to choose that it's a material.
Okay.
And then I'm going to also mark that I'm going to hide Chief Architect while we're going to capture this image. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and click the capture button. The program is now minimized, and I'm going to use this little marquee, and I'm going to draw a line and right around this and try to be pretty close. This may not be exact. Let's go back here. So this is called the Astoria Highball, right?
Okay.
And without knowing the specs on it, let's come in here, put it in my folder over here. Let's do a little editing on this before we use it. So let's open up the object. I'm going to paste in the name. Is it, what kind of material is it? We'll kind of accept that. And then on the texture panel, you see where there's a stretch to fit option?
Mhm.
Well, I want this to repeat, so I'm going to uncheck that. That way it will repeat all the way around. And then depending on the scale of this, what are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 2. Yeah, well, I could probably do a little math there and adjust that just a little bit. And then the pattern here, if you wanted to see a pattern, when you take a vector view, let's see if we can do a pattern from texture. So I'm clicking pattern from texture. So if we took a vector view, this is kind of what it would look like down here. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I now have that in my library, let's actually change that line color so it's not quite as aggressive. There we go. That doesn't look great. Okay, well, it's a start. So now I'm going to apply that onto the shower. So as you zoom in, you can see where it doesn't quite, the symmetry of it
Yeah,
doesn't quite
right.
match up. So it's not great. So the best thing to do would be to put them in contact with us. There are
Mhm.
some better images out there. Some companies do a better job of filling in their grout to make that symmetrical. And I'm probably just going to pause here for a second, Molly. I've got one of our content developers, I believe, online,
Hi,
and
guys.
I'm going to let him chime in and give a few more tips on this.
Sure. Thanks, Scott. I just wanted to mention real quick that exact tile, that elongated hex that you just made, we have that exact same pattern in the Substance Builder tile builder. So if you're interested in making something like that, you can go to Chief Doc and the Symbols and Content section and get the Substance Player. It's you can't miss it. It's pinned at the top in the Symbols and Content. You download there's videos to show you how to use it, and once you have it downloaded and try it out, you go down to elongated hex as your tile type, and there'll be that exact tile for you. You can make it any color you want, control your grout, control your finish, control everything else you want. That's the thread that's got up right now. You just download that, watch the videos, and you can make that exact tile. It's just another option that we offer for a way for you to get the tile that you want. That's it.
Yeah, so thanks, Dustin. So
Mhm.
this tile builder that Dustin mentioned, he and some of the other folks have put this together. You can build all kinds of different tiles in here. And when you go into that builder, he's got a video that talks about it. There's a few different builders. There's one specifically for tile here. And there are several of the common shapes that you would use. And then you can also use that color of the brown or the different glazing that is set up there, and you can build some pretty fantastic tiles. So if you want to go out to Chief Talk, maybe the folks can post this in the chat, but you just do a search for Substance, and then Dustin has the information, and there's also a video on how this thing works with how to use it. So it's a really great resource. And in addition, Molly, I'd point you to having Sonoma Tile Builders. Maybe if you have a contact for them, send that into our content at Chief Architect, and we can get with their tiles.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, Scott, our next question is from Rayla. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi all, this is Rayla from New York.
Hi, Rayla.
So I have a really quick question about the tile. The same as Molly, I always have an issue because we work with a lot of brands and sometimes I cannot find it. And another thing that I will need to know is on the elevator. I need to demonstrate to the construction crew the tiles, where to start and everything. But sometimes when I'm working on the first elevator, let's assume, and when I'm trying the second one, they are moving on the second one. So I'm always trying to do with the lines and everything, but would like to know more about that.
Sure. So Rayla, let's take a look here. Let's go back in, and I'm going to hit undo to get back to the other tile here. And if we take a elevation in here, let's just do a wall elevation. Let's peek at this tile pattern here. Okay, so if you zoom in and you look, you can see that the blue tile is got a small little sliver between the white and the blue. Do you see that?
Yes.
So are you talking about you would like to adjust that and have that
Correct.
work? And then if we slide up, you don't want this tile, which also looks like it's off slightly. You don't want
Yes.
that tile pattern to move. Is that right?
Correct. So basically, it's for the construction crew, they have to have the exact information how we want the tiles. Everything has to be correct.
Okay. So one of the things that I will typically do is change the offset. And this is called the pattern. I'm in a vector view. And if we switch our view over to a standard view, you kind of see the image of it, right? So this is the image, and we're in the vector view, which is really where you're going to get your pattern lines. So let's do a measurement, and let's see how far we're off. So I'm using the tape measure tool. Let's turn on our crosshair so it's a little easier to measure this. We'll get a snap here, and I'm going to pull this down, and it looks like I'm about 3/8. I need to pull that tile up 3/8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, I don't want the tile above maybe to move, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let's use this tool called Adjust Material Definitions. Have you used that before?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll use this little rainbow guy, and it's called Adjust Material Definition. So I'm going to click on this blue tile, and as I do this, before I actually click, I'm going to change it. There's a little scoping set of tools in the far left-hand corner. Do you see these scoping tools, these little paint cans?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So these stand for component, object, room, floor, and plan. And I want to make sure that I'm in component mode because I only want to change the one tile offset. I don't want to change the others. So let's click on this. And it says, oh, well, you're going to make a copy of this then because it's used in more than one place since you use component mode. So a lot of times I'll call this like shower, lower, tile. So I know what it is if I'm ever looking at it in a materials list or in my program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now I've made a copy of it. It's going to open it up. And on this pattern, I'm going to take the offset. Apparently there's already a horizontal offset of 4 inches. And I'm going to raise that up 3/8. So I'm going to add 3/8 to that number. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see where I did that?
Yes.
Okay. So we added 3/8 to that number. Actually, that was horizontal. Sorry, I need to be in vertical.
Yeah.
There's 3/8. There we go. Bang. So now I have a full tile starting there. And in theory, it didn't change the tile above that. Now, possibly, let's pull this down so we know where we're at here. So it looks like I need to pull this tile up some amount of distance as well. So I can do the same operation so I can get a full tile that would be above that band. I move this back up to 12 inches, right? 12 inches. So you can see that I probably have 3/8 of an inch in here that I need to pull that tile up, right? Let's pull that back up. And that line was down here. Let's use our tape measure. We'll pull up where that line was. I'll bet it's the same 3/8 of an inch. So I probably could have used that, but I'll do the same thing. Make a copy of it. We'll just call it upper. And then we'll slide that up probably 3/8 of an inch. Apparently the vertical offset 3/8 of an inch, move it up. And now I've got a full tile at the top and the bottom. It won't touch the lower tile if you have a different offset.
Understood.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hey, thanks for calling in, Rayla.
No problem.
All right, Scott, you ready for some more questions?
Yeah, we've got time for maybe 2 more. If there's questions after that, I'll kind of go through a closure so people can move on with their day, and then we can come back and if there's still a few more questions after that. So go ahead, a couple more.
All right, our next question is from Nyla. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi.
Hi, Nyla.
I'm having a problem building a platform for an undermount tub, which everyone's using freestanding. Why this client wants an undermount platform, I don't know, but I'm having a difficult time building it and having undermounting the tub.
Okay, so kind of just like an undermount sink, but a tub?
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, since tub platforms are on their way out, I guess I've heard, let's take a look at let's take a look at how to do that. So let me I'm going to use a 3D solid tool and or a countertop to do it. And maybe since it's easy to do, let's just use a countertop. So I'm going to use a custom countertop, okay? And I'm going to draw it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to look at the specs on the tub. We'll figure out, is it, 24 inches depth, whatever it is. I'm going to set the countertop the same thickness, and then we're going to put a hole in it in the countertop, and then we'll move the tub underneath of it. Does that sound approximately like, yeah?
Yes, I did try that. I didn't know how to cut the hole. So I kind of took the countertop. I actually put like a cabinet base
Okay.
in there,
Sure.
and then try and put a tub as the appliance.
Okay.
And the tub will not go to the ground. It remains on top.
Okay. Well, let's do it quickly. I just drew a custom countertop, and let's see if we can see this in 3D. Okay. So here's the countertop. Let's open it up and let's change the thickness to be, 24 inches. And we'll set it floor to bottom at 0. Okay. So we have one great big slab.
Yeah, I tried that. Okay. Hopefully you can fix this for me.
Okay. So then let's just borrow this tub that we already have here. Let's make a copy of it. Let's slide him over and put him in about where he should be. So now in the floor plan view, we've got the tub, right? Let's just see how big he is. So his height is 24 inches. So let's add a couple of inches to the countertop. Let's make it 26 inches, and floor to bottom is at 0. Okay. So now, once I get the tub positioned, then I'm going to click on the countertop. I'm going to draw a hole, and I'm just going to kind of snap around where that is. And I may want to pull that hole in just a little bit, so it's going to be a recess, right? I'm not going to be too exact, but I'm kind of pulling the hole in so it's a little bit thinner than the tub.
Sure.
And then let's see what we have.
Okay, yeah, that was the problem I was having. I forgot about there's the function that can make a hole in the countertop.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Does that work for you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks for calling in.
Oh, one other thing, I just wanted to make a comment on that. Pulling tile and slab off of the internet.
Okay.
What I've done in the past is I go to the internet because they usually have a very good picture, colored picture, a live picture, and I save that picture. Then I go in and adjust it to the grout line. So then I save that and I pull it into the system, and you have a better chance. You don't have those odd lines.
Okay, great.
Grout lines.
Glad that's working. Thanks for sharing
that.
that.
Yeah, it turns out pretty well. The color's pretty good.
Good, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for calling in.
All right, Scott, our next question comes from Carlos. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, Scott. Thank you.
Hi, Carlos.
I'm Carlos from Prince Edward Island in Canada.
Ah, okay.
I'm using X15 for probably, 6 years from now using Chief. And now I'm X15. I like all the features. I thank you for the feedback because you always get whatever we need added.
Yeah, good.
My question is related to, let's say you put a set of cabinets in a bathroom. When you get the schedule, I am very happy how the names of the cabinets come with the width and the height and whatnot. And I've tried to label them automatically myself by setting the text to be width, then height and depth and all of that. But for some reason, I cannot do automatic labeling to always make sure that it matches my suppliers.
Okay.
Is there a way to kind of say if it is 24 by 36 by 24 or whatever size get to this specific label. If it is this other measurement, grab this other label. You know what I mean?
So if it's, let's say it's exactly 24 inches, you would rather it say the cabinet company's nomenclature,
B24, base 24, for example.
base
B
24, instead of a width and a depth.
exactly.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there are some macros that you can write. Let's just kind of place a cabinet in here, and we'll resize this just a bit. And if you go onto the label panel, which is sounds like where you've been on, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a B30, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you go into specify label, currently that macro is, these set of macros are in here, object specific. So you've been getting width and depth, right, from here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so if we put in here, let's just put in the width here, get rid of the other one, 30 inches. And so when I resize this out, right, and if I got to a 36-inch cabinet, you would want it to change to, instead of saying 33, you'd want it to say B or B36 instead of 36. Is that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something like that. My manufacturer, the one that I get my kitchens and bathroom cabinets from, has specific numbers in a catalog.
Right.
And I'd like to create a way to, while I'm drawing, getting all those numbers automatically instead of going by drawing and then once finished change all the labels, because sometimes the customers come and they modify something quickly, and if I'm not very careful to check the schedule, then sometimes I don't get the labels correctly and I end up ordering something by mistake. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you don't need an extra cabinet for sure.
Exactly. So I wanted to see if there's a macro or something to relabel the cabinets once they get to a certain size to be my manufacturer's name.
Right. So, you know, I know some people have done this, and there's a gentleman on Chief Talk that has done this a few times. And if you haven't already done that, if you I don't personally know how to do it. I'll pause here in a minute after I'm done here and see if any of our staff members know how to write that macro. But if you post up on Chief Talk what you're trying to do here, Carlos, then you may get an answer from Chief Talk. With that said, I'm going to pause and see if any of
And that's great, because if you know somebody has done it, at least it gives me hope and I can keep looking, because
right.
I just couldn't find it myself and I've been a little busy to ask. But if you know somebody has done it, it gives me a lot of hope to just ask the community.
Yeah. So let me just pause here and see if there's any staff members out here that have a suggestion on this. Crickets. Crickets. So I think effectively what you'd be end up being done, Carlos, is you're going to build a table that says, you know, B36 equals, you know, when the width is equal to 36, and then swap out the label. So we have Ruby macros that you can write that are custom. And
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's a gentleman out there on Chief Talk. His name's Mark McAniff.
Okay.
And I think he's done this, and maybe a few other people. But if you post that on Chief Talk, say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do, then I'd be willing to guess you're going to get an answer from the community.
No, that's great. At least I saw what your thoughts were, like how you were thinking about solving it, because I've done that. And yeah, if somebody has done it and you know it, at least I can keep working at it, because I thought for a second that it was something that I was just imagining.
Yeah, you know, I'm not going to say you absolutely can do it, but I think you can.
Okay. No, thank you for taking my question.
You bet. Thanks, Carlos. So let's pause here. If there's still some hands raised and you want to continue on, I'll come back, but I want to do a closure. So if you've got other things going on in your day rather than watching a bathroom webinar, then I'll let you get out of here. So thanks for attending. And just a couple things I wanted to shout about. Let's go out to our event page and let's come out to our user events. And I just wanted to make you aware of a few things going on. Tomorrow, we have a kitchen and bath boot camp. So if you're a little bit new to the program or want to get some additional information, this is a free seminar. It's being offered tomorrow at 10 Pacific time. So this is a boot camp. We've got the same boot camp for residential the following Friday. And if you want to sign up for these events, this is a great way to improve your skills. If you're new or newer, or just want to brush up on your skills, these boot camp seminars. And then on the events page, we do have a full virtual training. This is effectively 2 full-day classes. We break it up into 4 days. So there's an introductory for residential and an introductory for kitchen and baths. Those will start the first week in May. So those are available. And then we have the Chief Academy. That's coming up the end of August, quite a ways out to be thinking about that. That will typically sell out if you're interested in attending. It's a great event where we do 2 days of full training that range from intro to advanced courses. And then we do a half day of focused training along with that. And then of course you can always do on-demand training, and we do live one-on-one training if you want to just do some screen sharing. So I wanted to thank everybody for attending today's session, and have a great day. If there's still a few questions, then I'll stick around. Also, if you need to take off and you had a question, didn't get it answered, send it out to sales@Chief Architect, and we'll see if we can get you an answer. Have a great day. And I'm going to pass it back to Carrie to see if there's any questions that are still in the hopper.
Thanks, Scott. We have Kelsey who wrote in and is asking, in your example, you're showing a shower that has framing, a black material surrounding the glass. Can you demonstrate how you've done that?
Okay, yeah. So let's see if I can go back into that plan. I think it was still up here. And if you look at this wall here, I've got it set up to have a frame around it, right? And the way that is done is through a railing wall. And let's just look at it. And on the railing wall, so if we come over to the rail style, first of all, it's specified as a railing, and it has a top and a bottom rail on it. And when you look at the actual rail information, I've set this up to be a 1/2 inch. So if you kind of zoom in and you look at this, I've set this to be a 1/2 inch for the top rail and really the bottom rail. Those are the two that we've been using. And that's how I've done that with the wall type of a railing.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Scott. Let's see. Frank also wanted to ask a question. He says, how do you get such wide angle views to send to layout?
So you can change your camera focus, right? I've got a view here, and let's just back out just a little bit. And if I want to see a wider focus, because you can't see the shower on the left-hand side of my screen, if you come in and edit your view, let's go into edit active view. And on the camera panel here is an option at the bottom, field of view. If I change that to, let's make it quite a bit bigger, to 70 field of view, and we change that, it's going to change out the angle. It may be easy to see this too in the floor plan view. You see the angle that I have on this camera. The field of view is one way to do that. And so if that's the question, Frank, then that's the process that we typically do.
All right, sounds good. We have a question from Julia. Hi, Julia. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello.
Hi, Julia.
So my question is, can we produce isometric diagrams with the software?
So what kind of isometric diagram are you looking for?
Plumbing schematic.
Yeah, for the plumbing schematic.
So I have, you can use the molding polyline to do that. And if I grab a example that I have of one of those here, let's see if this is what you're after. So let's switch this over. I have an HVAC view, okay? So I have my plumbing diagram, you see that? And
Yeah.
let's kind of take a 3D overview and see if this is what you're after. So I've used a molding polyline in here, and if we switch this over to the HVAC view.
Oh.
Here's the HVAC view.
So this
Yeah,
isn't isometric, this is just perspective, right?
That's it.
You can
Yeah,
use dice. Is that what you're after?
yes.
Perfect.
Yes, that's
Thank
it.
you. We're both.
Is there a way to convert that to a plan view, one-liner isometric?
Well, you
Instead
can
of a
use
3D?
you can use the isometric camera to generate the same view, right? Is that what you're after?
Because what I wanna do is make that a one-liner. I don't know if you ever seen plumbing isometric diagrams. They're one-liners.
Sure. Let's see if we can use the isometric camera. See if this is what you're after. And let's switch that back to the plumbing view.
That is awesome. Oh yeah, that's it.
There
That's
you
it.
go. Just use the isometric view. And you can turn on different layers, right? If you want to turn off those fixtures, you can turn them off. And I turned on the framing so I could make sure that it was going through, you know, certain framing layers. So if you turned on, you know, like the, you know, framing, you can easily turn those layers on. We come down and we just turn on the wall framing layer. You can kind of see what that starts to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one more question.
Okay.
So I know that this program gives you a material list.
Yep.
Will it give me an option, or will I be able to have an option of producing PVC in lieu of cast iron pipe? Like if I wanted to use PVC on the drainage, will it give me that?
So I can get a materials list, and what I've used here. You don't sound like Julia, by the way.
It's Lorenzo, but we work together.
Okay. I hope you don't mind if I call you Julia.
I don't mind.
So I've used the molding polyline tool here, right? And when I run a materials list, I'm going to get a list. I'm going to get a length of the material out of this. So I can put a name on it. And so if you want to call it PVC or cast or, you know, what other material you're using, flex, PEX, then you can change the names of those. If we kind of zoom in and we peek at this line here, let's go into the materials list for it. And currently there's nothing on that material list, but let's open it up. And on the moldings, right? I could put a label on here and I could specify this is PVC wastewater pipe, right? And so I'll get a definition out of that when I run it. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Scott.
That helps a lot. Thank you, Scott.
Yep. It's called the molding polyline tool. So you can draw those in a floor plan view or in an elevation view.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next question is from Michael. Hi, Michael. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, Scott. Had
Hi,
a
Michael.
lovely Colorado and using 15.
Okay.
Got cabinets that I'm trying to get the hickory knotty showing up on the cabinets, and all I'm getting is just this orange color. Same way with my walk doors. They
Okay.
knotty hickory. I'm close, but I'm missing something. I'm not getting the knotty look. I just have this orange look.
So let's go back in here and take a peek. And let's do a search in the library for hickory. And you said knotty?
Yeah, it was a knotty hickory. Dang it. Get the
Okay.
there.
Let's apply that on here. Is that what you're after?
Yeah, that's what shows up when I select it in my selection material area, but then when it goes to the plan, I don't have the knotty look. It's just the orange.
When you say it goes to the plan, what do you mean?
All right, I'm trying to switch back and forth from, I've got it up on my back screen here.
I hear that.
So I'm in materials and I have all of everything selected: cabinets, interior cabinet, didn't select countertop, drawers and panels. All those should be the hickory knotty. So
Okay.
I have that selected in all of them. It even shows up in my plan materials. So I was able to just get them all selected there, but it's not, it just shows up this pink, or not pink, orangey brown color. Doesn't have
What view are you in, Michael?
Let me get back to the plan. Dang it, jeez, close that. So I'm a working plan view.
Okay, so you're in a floor plan view?
Uh-huh.
And you want to show up knotty in this view?
Yeah, and also the doors in here. There's a 6-panel door that I wanted to show the knotty.
You want to see it? You want to see it in this floor plan view?
Floor plan and also 3D would be awesome too, because yeah, that orthogonic.
So how would I see knotty in this view? Do you just want to see the word knotty?
No, so that picture that you showed,
This is the 3D view, yeah.
Yeah, that picture, that cabinet, that's how I would like it to look in my 3D view, and it doesn't when I go into that. Or am I going into the wrong view? Maybe that's what I'm not doing.
Well, if you're in a vector view, right? If you're in a vector view, if we switch this over, that takes off all of the image of that, right? So there's no pattern on this, right?
Right.
I click on this material definition, the pattern is solid. In this case, it's just a solid orange.
Okay.
And so it's not going to show you the image. So you have to switch your camera over to a standard style view, or the physically based view, and then you'll see the image which produces that wood species there.
Okay.
Right.
So, all right, I was trying to get this set up on your video doesn't work on the iPads. I was trying to get that to come up on my iPad, and I couldn't get this video to show up so I could be looking at both things. So
here's an elevation view that I have up. You're not seeing the wood species in this elevation, right?
Right.
So if I take that hickory and I apply it on here, all it's going to look is orange. But if I switch the camera over to the standard view, right, now you're seeing the hickory, right?
Oh, okay. I just don't have, I knew it was just going to be something simple that I just wasn't doing.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Then one other quick one, when I'm in my library browser, like yours on here on the side right now, down at the bottom in the preview,
yeah,
I can't get anything to show up in my preview section, regardless of what I'm selecting. So
make sure you Make sure you check on the little gear in the bottom of that. Make sure your preview is turned on. So you might check that.
Preview, yeah, it's checked.
You might also need to find the little drag handle so you can drag this up. Maybe it's pushed all the way to the bottom.
Show that to me again. Sorry, I was on my other screen.
There's a little move handle for those things, so you can move it up and down.
Yeah, and I got plenty of space there.
Anyways, you can give our tech support group a call and they can maybe figure out why you aren't seeing that preview.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Sounds good.
Thanks for calling in, Michael.
Uh-huh.
Carrie?
Yes, Scott. Our next question is from Geeta. Hi, Geeta. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, let's see. Let's check in with Joe. Hi, Joe. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Joe.
Yes, thank you so much. Boy, what an expert you are. And I don't realize how much powers the program has. So I watch someone like you. It's very impressive. Hey, I've got a rather simple question. Typically working with monolithic slabs, and when I put bath fixtures or sinks, I'd like to be able to relocate those, but then I'd like to be able to show them on the foundation page so I could dimension the centers of them to be able to allow the plumber to basically build the plumbing to those fixtures. Is there something I can get that to show on the foundation page level, if you will?
So if you're trying to, maybe you can mute. I'm getting some feedback there. Okay, so if you're trying to, if we move over, I think we built a foundation on this view here. And if you're trying, let's rebuild that to a slab real quickly. So if you're trying to delete or create a foundation and do your dimensioning, and let's go ahead and build the foundation, and let's build it as a slab. And there we go. And let's just delete all of those guys. Okay, and if I turn on reference display, I want to see the plumbing fixtures from above. And let's grab a toilet in here real quickly so we just have something. There we go. So let's assume that we want to have reference display on, and in the foundation plan, we want to turn on that reference display and do some dimensioning. So typically what I might do is switch us over to maybe a foundation view, but then I'm going to set up a reference display, and let's make a copy of this reference display, and I'm going to call it fixtures. And then I'm going to turn on just the fixtures. So let's turn on those fixtures. And then I'll press F9 so you can now see those fixtures, right? So if you want to run a set of dimensions in here, what you can do, one easy way, you could maybe do a point-to-point dimension. So we could come in here, run a point-to-point dimension, and let's grab that and pull it out. And then if I wanted to change that as a center line, I could click on that and possibly put that, if I can grab it. There we go. Okay, for some reason I'm not getting, there we go, center line. So you could set up a reference display layer, maybe not turn it on to be red, and then you could do a plumbing plan in some way like that, if that's what you're after. Is that kind of what you're looking for, Joe?
Yes, that's what I'm looking for. I was hoping that there was some way so that if I relocate those fixtures on that I could automatically update that's also in the foundation.
Sure. Right. Yeah. So okay. So yep. Sure. Well, you should be able to do that. Let's put a reference display. Let's change the reference display. And let's make sure that we have, let's actually select all and let's turn them all off. And then we'll turn on the fixtures and let's make those black. And let's turn on the dimensions. So I'm going to actually dimension it where the fixture is. So if we type in dimensions, and I'll just use the kitchen and bath dimensions, and let's make those black as well. Okay, done. I'm going to delete this dimension. Okay, let's go up to the floor above. Let's use the centerline dimension. Okay. So then we go down below. You see the centerline dimension, right? We go up above, we pull that toilet over, we go down, there it is.
I'll have to follow this on the recording, but I appreciate it because that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm sorry I didn't follow all your steps, but it looks like they have that capability because I've been doing it and I hate it where they're not connected because if I move something, then my foundation page is out of whack.
Yep.
So thank you so much.
when you look at it here, Joe, I built a reference display. I made a copy of it. And I've turned on two things. I turned on the fixtures and I turned on the dimensions. Those are actually on the floor above, right? Possibly because the toilet is technically on the floor above with a slab, even though a lot of times it's in the same room. So these are the two things that are turned on, and then you can turn that, toggle it on and toggle it off with your reference display by using F9 on the keyboard, right? So if you're doing your typical foundation plan, you could do it without that on, and then if you're doing your plumbing plan, then you can set it up to have those dimensions on like that.
That's fantastic, Scott. I'm sorry I keep muting myself because I guess I'm getting some feedback.
Yep. Okay, good. Well, thanks for calling in, Joe.
Thank you.
Scott, do you have time for 3 more questions?
3 more questions. Okay, 3 more.
All right, we have Gita back, and go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you, Carrie. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Gita.
I am on Home Designer Pro, so I don't know if this is going to work or not.
Okay.
But in the shower, if I'm doing a mosaic, I can put the material on, but I don't see it in the plan.
So
like I can see it in the 3D.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see it in 3D. So I've got a 3D view up here. We see the tile that's on the right-hand side of my screen. And then when you go to the floor plan, you're not seeing the tile?
Yes.
Is it on the floor perhaps that you're trying to see the tile?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. Yes, it's on the floor. I should have specified. It's in the shower room.
Yeah, sure. Let's go up a floor. So I've got a tile pattern over here.
Right.
So you can do a CAD box and turn on the fill. You can also click in a room. Okay. Phil, you might have to correct me if this isn't in there, but I could put a a tile in that room, something like that.
Right. And how did you? Because I've done something like that before. So you take the box and you fill in, right?
Oh yeah. So what I've done over here, I just drew a CAD box. So I come up, CAD box, right? And then you can open it up and you can change the fill style in here.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I've done that, but what happens is, like, if I've got the shower heads or any of the fixtures on there, they get covered by the shower heads.
Okay. So here's so it looks like this, right? You can't see the shower head, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
What version of Home Designer Pro are you using?
24. 2024. In the past, I didn't have that problem. When I did the fill like that, it showed up fine.
So on the fill style, right,
Mm-hmm.
there is a transparency.
Okay.
And actually, I think it's the background we're after. So we take the background transparency and we want to change that transparency maybe to mostly transparent.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I haven't looked at that. So where do I go back?
I'm going to pause here and see if any of the staff members, I'm not sure if that setting is in Home Designer Pro or not.
It used to be like in 2022, I was able to do that.
Okay, well, take a look at the background and it's a transparency setting right here.
Okay, so if I go into okay, I'll look at that then.
Okay, thanks, Geeta.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, Scott, our next question is from Ileana. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, let's go to Brandon. Hi, Brandon. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, Brandon.
For the previous person, it's also a drawing group thing if they have that in that Home Designer.
Okay, yeah.
Inline style, you can send it to the back in front of the fixtures.
Right, so you're talking about this little drawing group option that you see in the bottom of your menu where is
I usually just get it from if you open it up, it's in line style. It's a choice in line style, but that's not my question though. But
is your question, don't put the shower valve on the outside wall?
That's one of them, but that wasn't my question either. Okay. I really have a question.
Okay.
So this is it's a cabinet question, but it happens a lot in a bathroom.
Okay.
Is there a fast way to turn off the auto filler? You know, like when you get your cabinet so close to a wall, but not up against the wall, it auto puts a filler in. Or if you put two cabinets side by side, once you get them so close, they're gonna auto fill us. It's gonna auto filler on the end, and you got to get really close.
What program are you using, Brandon?
This is X15.
Okay. So do you have auto fillers turned on?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I know there obviously is auto fillers turned on. What I'm asking is there a fast way? Can I make a hotkey for something like this, or is there any, is there some fast toggle way that I can turn them on or off at will without digging through the menus?
So do you design much kitchens and baths?
This is not necessarily exactly the question for me as much as some of the team.
Okay. So anybody that does, how long have you been using Chief Architect? What version did you start with?
I think I started with 6.
So a couple versions.
No, like 6, not X6.
Yeah, so a couple more versions.
No, yeah, a couple more versions, yeah.
Yeah. So it used to be that we would turn on this setting called automatic fillers. Okay.
Yep.
I always recommend if you're a professional designer, you're not a homeowner, turn this setting off.
Okay.
Absolutely turn that setting off. Because what happens is I've got it turned on, right? And now when I go to place another cabinet over here and we get close,
exactly.
it put a filler in there. And if you're a professional designer, you should be putting your own fillers in.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if there was a fast toggle.
Yeah. Don't put the shower valve on the outside wall and don't
auto filler.
Don't turn the auto filler on. And that's probably because you started with an older version where we turned that on, because you want to make sure if you've got a gap like I have in here,
yeah,
you want to put your own filler in there. And as this gets closer to the wall and it gets approximate to the wall, you want to put and control the design yourself.
Yeah.
So turn that setting off.
Yeah. That's a great, I guess there's the fast lesson is just don't use it. Simple as that.
Yeah, do not use automatic fillers.
Awesome. Hey, always appreciate the help. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
That was our last question for today, Scott. If you had some announcements you wanted to make.
Yeah, okay, great. So I mentioned this earlier. Tomorrow we will be hosting a boot camp for kitchen and bath. That's at 10 o'clock Pacific time. It's a free session if you're new or newer or just want to brush up on your skills. This is a session. It's hosted by one of our staff members here, and it's a great way to learn. We're doing the exact same thing for residential on the following Friday, so that's April 19th, and also a great way to learn how the program works. We're doing a full class. It's a virtual training, so you can do this from the convenience of your home or home office or office. So it starts May 1st. It runs 4 hours a day for 4 days. So a great way to learn about the residential introductory or the kitchen and bath introductory. And then we're doing the Chief Academy training event end of August. We'd love to see you there. We do on-demand training, so if you want to take and the introductory class is free, and if you want to do training at your own convenience is a great way to do it. And then we do what's not on here is live one-on-one training. We do screen share, and it's all about whatever questions you have. So have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you back here soon with another webinar or another session. Have a great day, and thanks a lot for attending.